With Hangman Page breaking his silence and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for September 14th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Talking about a show she attended recently, WWE broadcaster Kayla Braxton took to Twitter to write, went to a comedy show last night, had a great time. Show featured several comedians, some I knew, some I didn't. One I didn't know got up on stage. He started doing that thing comics do where they pick on random people in the crowd. He spotted me and asked where I worked. I said I worked for the greatest company in the world, but after Sizzler fired me, I started at WWE. He said, I remember when you'd pay to see real wrestling. Then I went, yeah, I get it, kinda like when I'd pay to see a real comedian. He never got a pop as loud as mine all night. With Bobby Lashley holding the US title on Raw, it's been noted by Fightful that the head of creative in WWE, Triple H, wants to make sure that championship is seen as a credible prize, which is the reason Lashley is presented as a proper star. Speaking of Busted Open Radio, Bryan Danielson touched on using his aggressiveness in the ring to bring the best out for fans. I feel like for 99% of my life, I'm super calm. Then, when the occasion merits, sometimes you have to crush somebody's trachea. There is a certain amount of satisfaction to getting under right here, the throat, and going crack. There's nothing mean about it. It's just satisfying. Sometimes, or if somebody breaks into my house, if something outside of normal things happens, so my son might deserve it. Our son, Buddy, is pretty wild. I probably wouldn't get that mad at that. Now, if they intentionally try to run over my son with a shopping cart, I might get upset and go from where I'm at right now to a different plane. With him taking shots at the former AEW champion, Bobby Fish told Wrestling Headlines that there could be issues between talent following CM Punk's rant after All Out. I was not in the locker room the last couple of months that I was there. Prior to that, I will say no. I didn't feel like there was anything brewing. Fish went on to say that he believes it can damage camaraderie when there is an element of separation backstage. Track record will prove that anytime anyone is separated in the locker room, and now there were definitely certain people within the company that had their own locker room. Fish said, noting that Punk and the Elite had their own locker rooms backstage. I don't know if it's just kind of my feeling that once you separate yourself from the boys, can you really be considered one of the boys? And I might be in the minority, I might be in the majority, I don't know. But I know the separation always felt a little weird to me, but it was what it was. When speaking to the Daily Gazette, TNT champion Wardlow talked about entering a new stage in life, making it clear change is coming. Absolutely, there are some changes. I'm just entering a new era in my life. I'm evolving, things are changing. I've just become a hungrier, more intense version of myself, and I'm ready to display that, and I'm ready to let the rest of the world feel that. On his ref and rant, former pro wrestling official Jimmy Korderas talked about AEW stars making references to WWE on programming, saying, I know I talked about this in the past, but you don't want to repeat the mistakes that others made previously going forward into the future trying to grow your business. Look, a big debate about the promo from MJF on Wednesday night. Yes, he was fantastic on the mic, and he hit home, but all those references to the other company and the game and all that sort of stuff, it draws big time attention to the other company, especially coming from one of your biggest stars, who that audience knows all the inside behind the curtain goings on about him, and possibly reaching out to the other side or them reaching out to him and all this sort of stuff. Look, ignore the other team, because that was the biggest downfall for this company right here, WCW, when they were in competition with WWE. They didn't ignore them, they kept referencing them. Ignore them, stick to your business, and grow your audience that way. MJF would respond to No DQ quoting Korderas, writing, former referee Jimmy Korderas tries to tell greatest promo of all time MJF how to do his job. Former Bell Times keeper Herbert Ponzarelli tries to tell MJF how to do a headlock. Speaking on the Snake Pit podcast, DDP touched on Karrion Kross returning to WWE and his potential in the company, saying, "I said, dude, I know it seems crazy that you are not in one of these two companies because you belong there in a hell of a spot. I said, but don't lose faith, bro. Don't lose faith. It's going to happen." 2 weeks later, I get called and he's doing a run-in on Drew McIntyre. You can't start a guy in a better position than that. I had nothing to do with that. But there's certain guys, no matter what, it's almost impossible for them not to get another opportunity. And that's one of the cats, and he has the potential to be a humongous star in WWE. Recalling his first feud with John Cena from 2017, Roman Reigns talked about the infamous promo segment between them where he revealed on Impaulsive that he blanked out before Cena buried him. Trying to think back, yeah, I believe I did blank in that 2017 promo segment. I think just being in that position and going through that experience made me better. I don't think it was anything like John specifically, you know what I mean? Because I take from everybody I've worked with, everyone I've competed with. I always try to take something that I learned from them. If you're an offensive coordinator, I'm working under you as a quarterback coach or something, and it's like, man, that offense was good. I take everything that I like from it, then I'm gonna add a little bit to my own playbook, and then now I got my own formula here. I took a little bit from you, a little from you. During that same interview, Roman Reigns would be asked how he combats the "what" chants from WWE fans, which started thanks to Steve Austin, as he said, "It's an old stone cold gimmick and they still hold on to it, so they'll hit you with those, and that's when you can hear the more experienced performers and talkers, where they'll change their cadence, and like if I have to machine gun, then I'll machine gun them, but as soon as I know I've stopped that, or I have a gauge on what's happening, I don't mind sitting and letting them chant." Also on the Impaulsive podcast, Roman Reigns was asked if Logan Paul has done well to start out in pro wrestling, to which he said, "Oh, 100%. I think, and we've been lucky enough to have some outside talent come in that has showcased the passion, the drive, that hyper focus that you got to have. And there's got to be something like that where you go, oh I got bit by the bug, the wrestling bug, the sports entertainment bug. The simultaneous response is happening and I've never felt anything like that. You're doing great though, you really are. It's tough because you're trying to get the broad strokes, right? This crazy performance, this crazy art form that I'm now involved in, and there's just so many working mechanics that go into the performance. We're going off of the response and the reactions we're eliciting, and that's the magic, is making people make noise. Roman Reigns would also talk to Logan Paul about his short stint in the NFL training with the Minnesota Vikings. Technically, we weren't quite sure. This is where we saw the blood lapse that showed the elevated white blood cells, which clearly says your body is attacking something, it's fighting off something. So they were like, yeah, it could be anything. Venereal disease, infection, cancer, and all I heard was cancer. I'm like, whoa, it got super heavy. So I compartmentalize emotions sometimes, so I think it was just so overwhelming that it wasn't even believable. And even then, it was like, this was back in 07. So this was years ago. So you hear about younger people with blood cancers more often now, but back then a 21-year-old comes straight out of college, a Division I football player supposed to be kind of peak health, right? You never would expect that. So it put a huge asterisk next to my name when it came to the NFL. So it was just an uphill battle from there, man. Pro Wrestling Illustrated has revealed their annual PWI 500 list for 2022, and here are the top 10 wrestlers of the year. Roman Reigns, Kazuchika Okada, CM Punk, Hangman Page, Bobby Lashley, Cody Rhodes, Bryan Danielson, Vikingo, Big E, and Jonathan Gresham. Speaking of the PWI Top 500, many fans were upset over Seth Rollins not being included in the top 10, as they wrote, "The fact that Seth Rollins wasn't in the top 5 of the PWI list is weak AF. How did Gresham beat out Seth for a top 10 spot at that?" Once again, the PWI is a disaster other than the consensus number 1. How is Rollins not in the top 10? Check the Jobber Knocker rankings for the real top 10. Seth Rollins, Jon Moxley, and Roman Reigns should be the top 3 of the PWI. The fact that Rollins and Mox aren't even top 10 removes any legitimacy of that list. PWI is joke now. Rollins and Mox aren't even top 10. Rollins carried WWE this whole year, has the most matches, had 5-star match. Mox was the highlight of AEW. He is AEW backbone, yet not even top 10, just a joke. In a video posted to his Instagram with the caption "Smoking that Ric Flair drip all night long with Mike Tyson," the Nature Boy can be seen hanging out with Iron Mike. Here's the clip.
Mike. Alright, do you want to, what do you want to say? To be in the picture.
I gotta go bow.
Do they have valet? Can somebody get the car from Selena?
Ric Flair drip.
Hang on, there's a woman right here.
Mike Tyson 2.0. Go woo on a bitch. Woo on a bitch.
Our third party is right here.
You think we're gonna get canceled?
I'm gonna grab you up. We're going.
With him previously taking shots at CM Punk on Dynamite over the summer, Hangman Page has now broken his silence following the backstage brawl at All Out and the subsequent suspensions. As he wrote on Instagram, "After you get famous, you stop growing. You don't have to. After being an even small part of a movement with the elite and our subsequent falling out, I was afraid of stagnation. I was happy, fulfilled, and getting a good paycheck. But without anyone to push me further, during Brody's illness, I was scared to move forward with these guys. But we all still felt it was the right thing to do. I can never say enough about all of the Dark Order. John's jokes effortlessly turn a bad day into a hilarious one. Alex is my dad friend. Our sons were born 5 days apart, and it's been so grounding to have someone on the same ride as me. Uno self-deprecates in a way I can relate to, only wishing he saw in himself what I see in him. 10 for working tirelessly and covering for my sorry ass at the latest possible notice. Anna for never hesitating to get in a good dick joke and be one of the boys. Stu for never being complacent with his spot and always wanting for more. 5 for overcoming having such a small penis and gaining the confidence to bet on himself in a way I have never had to. Colt for being a foundation of wisdom and saying to me the most self-affirming words I've ever heard. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.